Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to Inside Rodeo, the Saddle Bronc Riding Edition. It is Wednesday. We are barreling toward the NFR, about 3 weeks out now, so we're getting just closer and closer every single day. And today, we are breaking down 3 stats in the Saddle Bronc Riding about each of the last 3 world champions. But before we start anything here, consider this kind of a bonus stat before we get into Ryder Wright, Zeke Thurston, and Stetson Wright. It's that these world champions don't just date back until 2022. They date back till 2019. So it is your last 3 world champions who have won it each of the last 6 years. Zeke Thurston in 2019, Ryder Wright in 2020, Stetson Wright in 2021, Thurston again in 22 and 23, and then Ryder Wright is your reigning world champion in 2024. And as they've accumulated these gold buckles, they have now all in different ways, at different points in their careers, put themselves and their legacies on notice as some of the greatest rodeo athletes of all time, as some of the greatest bronc riders of all time, which we will get into a little bit. So now that we have gotten that out of the way, to know who we are talking about and why we are talking about them, what better place to start than the reigning world champion, Ryder Wright. And our first stat about him came from last year at the NFR, when he missed his first horse out and then proceeded to place in the final 9 rounds, winning 4 of them. He made $228,000, the most of any Saddle Bronc rider. He made over $479,000 on the season. As I mentioned, he won 4 rounds. It is the 3rd time in his career he has won 4 rounds or more at a national finals rodeo. And every single one of those qualified rides in rounds 2 through 10 were 85 points or better. 4 of the last 7 were 88 points or better. Ryder Wright could also make it 3 world titles this decade in the 2020s. No one did that in the 2010s. No one did that in the 2000s. Dan Mortensen and Billy Ettbauer did it in the 90s. Clint Johnson and Brad Germanson did it in the 80s. Those are the types of names Ryder Wright could join. And he could also join them halfway through the decade in 2025. So if Ryder Wright wins this year as well, if he holds on to that number 1 spot, if he goes back to back, he will have 3 world titles in the first 6 years of the 2020s. And when you look back at these history books, at your NFR champions, at your world champions by year, Ryder Wright could cement his name with a 4th world title, 3rd in the 2020s, as a guy who owned this decade. And some proof, something that might be on his side, is the fact that this year he has made 65 rides of 85 points or better, which breaks his brother Stetson's record of 63 set previously. Who had the most 85-point rides last year going into the NFR? It was Ryder Wright once again with 47, which is a huge difference from 65, of course. But if you look at this year and you look at everyone else except Ryder Wright, no one else even cleared 50. And this year, Ryder Wright made 65 rides of 85 points or better. Just for the record, that is over 60% of his rides on the season. And remember, he did it 9 times in a row at last year's National Finals Rodeo. And I said 3 stats about each of these 3 guys, but here's a bonus for you that applies to Ryder Wright and Zeke Thurston as we transition here. Thurston and Wright are tied for the longest top 10 streak, not just in the saddle bronc riding, but in any event. Both of them have finished in the top 10 every single year since 2016. That being said, let's get right into Zeke Thurston, who is the only saddle bronc rider ever to win the world title and the average in the same year, back-to-back years. He did it in 2022 and 2023. In 2022, he made $399,000. In 2023, $456,000. His average scores those years, 876.5 on 10. That's a record. 863 on 10 the next year in 2023. Each of the last 4 years, Zeke Thurston has been 837.5 or better on his 10 horses at the National Finals Rodeo. Ryder Wright is looking for his 3rd title this decade. Zeke Thurston is looking for his 5th career world title. If he were to do so, he would become just the 4th Bronc rider ever to have at least 5 world titles. He would join Dan Mortensen, Casey Tibbs, and Billy Ettbauer in those ranks. Right now, less than 10 guys ever have 4 gold buckles. So again, Zeke, to go along with a half dozen Canadian titles, could have 5 world titles as well. But right now he's got 4. And entering this year's NFR, he is the only active athlete with at least 3 world titles and 3 NFR average titles. The only one in any event to do both of those things 3 times. And just to run through some guys who are close: Tyler Waguespack, 5 world titles, 2 average titles. Wesley Thorpe, 3 world titles, 1 average title. Jade Corkill, 3 world titles, 1 average title. Jess Pope, 3 average titles, 1 world title. And Tuff Cooper, just to throw this in, who finished number 18 this year, did not make the NFR, 4 world titles, 2 NFR average titles. Zeke Thurston, only one with 3 and 3. And he'll do you one better too, because he's got 4 gold buckles, not 3, to go along with his 3 NFR average titles. Last but certainly not least, the number 12 man in the world, the 2021 world champion. It is Stetson Wright. And this year, Stetson Wright became the 2nd highest earner in pro rodeo history with just over $3.5 million. $3,548,701. Cody Ole used to have that distinction at about $3,510,000. And just how good has Stetson Wright been in his career to get to this point? Because remember, he is only 26 years old right now. And so right now, if you go back 3 years, on December 31st, 2022, the last time we saw Stetson Wright win world titles, December 31st, 2022. In that time, on that day, he was 32nd on the money list. Since then, he has risen to number 2, 30 spots on the PRCA's all-time earnings list. He will more than likely clear $4 million shortly. He'll be the fastest in PRCA history to $4 million. I see no reason he won't be the fastest, barring injury, to $5 million, $6 million, $7 million before he eventually breaks Trevor Brazil's earnings record. Right now, he is about halfway there. Also, remember, in that time I just mentioned, in the time he has moved up 30 spots in the all-time PRCA earnings standings, in that time frame, Stetson Wright has really not competed at the NFR. He's gotten on 3 total stock in 2023, didn't compete in 2024. So he has made over $1.2 million in just the 2023 regular season and 2025 regular season combined in order to rise that far. But each of the last 3 seasons, he has been healthy, 2020 through 2022. He has won multiple world titles. Bulls in the all-around in 2020, Broncs in the all-around in 2021, and Bulls in the all-around again in 2022. And lastly, by averaging 85 points per ride this year, Stetson Wright, each of the last 2 seasons, the last 2 full regular seasons he was healthy in the Bronc riding, 2023 and 2025, he has averaged over 85 points. Number 1 in 2023 at 85.63. Number three, in 2025, 85.24. In the last 3 years, there have only been 6 instances total of guys averaging at least 85 points per ride. 4 of them have come from Stetson Wright and Zeke Thurston. They have each done it twice in the last 3 years. But remember, Stetson has done it without even riding one of those years. Zeke has been healthy all 3 years. That's how good Stetson Wright has been when he is healthy. He is averaging well over 85 points per ride when he is healthy in the bronc riding. And despite being number 12 in the world standings this year, he is number 3 in that average score stat. So now the question becomes, will it be one of these 3 guys? Will it be Ryder? Will it be Zeke? Advancing those legacies. Will Stetson add to his legacy by making a dramatic surge to number 1 to win a second Saddle Bronc Riding World title? Or will it be Dawson Hay, Damian Brennan, Cade Bruno, Brody Wells, any one of these guys who also cleared $200,000? We'll have more on that when we preview the Saddle Bronc Riding, when we do rodeo picks. But until then, those are 3 facts, mind-blowing stats, 3 interesting things from each of the last 3 world champions in the Saddle Bronc Riding, and 3 guys who are surely going to provide interesting storylines for us throughout all 10 nights of the National Finals Rodeo. Speaking of interesting storylines, we're breaking them all here down on the US Cowboy YouTube channel. We are here every Tuesday through Friday up until the National Finals Rodeo. Then we will join you after every single performance of the NFR. So if you want the most comprehensive video digital coverage throughout November into December for the finals, we are right here for you. So tell your friends, like, subscribe, comment, help us share these videos. We will see you tomorrow. Fantasy Rodeo Picks. Riley Webb, Shad Mayfield, Haven Medjin, Marty Yates, Shane Hanchy. We are breaking down the entire tie-down roping field tomorrow. Wildcard Friday after that. And like I said, we will see you all the way up until December. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you tell your friends about all of the phenomenal things you learned about Ryder Wright, Zeke Thurston, and Stetson Wright, and we will continue to monitor them throughout the 2025 National Finals Rodeo. Thank you for joining us. We will see you tomorrow for Fantasy Rodeo Picks.